Good afternoon to you.
Give us more details with regards to the flooding of roads and, the landfall situation there.
Yes, I will tell you that at the moment we're having a very brief respite from the consistent rain that we've been experiencing in Cape Town from Thursday. The sun is out, it has been out all morning, but we do expect this to be the calm before the storm, as they say. Disaster management officials are still on high alert ahead of yet another cold front expected to make landfall by this evening. That cold front, of course, is expected to bring high winds as well as heavy rains, and according to disaster management officials, the situation currently on the ground, where quite a number of informal settlements are waterlogged, is expected to be exacerbated because the water table is already very high. Now, at the moment, I am in an area called SANDILE in Macassar. I'll step out of shot for just a second. This area, of course, where yesterday at the SABC informal settlement, as many as 10 homes needed to be evacuated in the early morning hours after the river burst its banks. The Easter River, of course, this massive water that you see behind me, that informal settlement is basically a spot where two rivers, the Kuils River as well as the Easter River meet, and of course many people had to be evacuated in the early hours of the morning. Some of them are quite sad, saying that they were fearful of losing all their possessions after the heavy rains caused water from the river to seep into their homes. Now, behind me, you'll see that there are still disaster risk management officials at the scene here. They've put up temporary sandbanks to protect the formal homes on my right-hand side. And they are basically doing assessments throughout the day, monitoring the situation in informal settlements as well as areas that are adjacent to rivers. I understand they've also done an assessment out in Somerset West earlier on to assess the potential for flooding along the rivers in that area. Now, I can tell you that a short while ago we visited the BM section in Kommetjie, of course Kommetjie, the biggest township here in Cape Town, and also massive informal settlements around in that area. And residents of the BM section telling us that yesterday water was knee high, many of them battling to just get out of their homes. A very sad story that we'll bring you a little later on this evening when we put through our report of the day is of a mentally and physically handicapped young man that really can't even get out of his home due to the circumstances in that area where flooding causes havoc for people living in BM section. I've spoken to the CEO of the Haven Night Shelter as well, Mr. Hassan Khan, and a short while ago we took a drive past there. Quite a number of homeless people standing in the queue there. I've asked him whether they have seen an increase in people presenting to homeless shelters given the severe cold and inclement weather conditions, and he said indeed that where possible the Haven Night Shelter is taking in more people from the street, of course going through the COVID-19 protocols, and where they have bed spaces available, they are making these available to those who need beds. When we drove past there a short while ago, a long queue of homeless people standing and waiting while officials from the Haven Night Shelter was handing out food to them. And we understand that generally people are fed once a day, but during these times the street people, the homeless people living on the streets of Cape Town are being provided 3 meals a day, even though some of them may not have accommodation in those night shelters. So yes, sunny weather at the moment, but a bit of wind coming through now, and we are expecting wind speeds of up to 60-70 kilometers per hour. And of course those living in informal settlements as well as those living in coastal areas have been warned to be cautious as yet another storm as well as cold front is expected to hit Cape Town by this evening.
All right, Vanessa, thank you so much for your update. Much appreciated. That was our reporter Vanessa Poonah speaking to us from the Western Cape. Now, Prince Jonguxolo Sandile has paid a moving tribute to his late mother and the Amakhachabe Queen NOLOYISO Sandile. He spoke at her funeral at Mkesha Great Place outside King Williamstown in the Eastern Cape this morning. The Queen died at Mtanzane's Cecilia Makiwane Hospital last week from COVID-19. The Prince has described his mother as a humble and a caring person.
usikhulisile wasithanda wasifundisa to love and respect abantu wasifundisa to be God-fearing children ubungengo wethu sedwa we shared you with isizwe samakhahaba and the rest of the country. But uthando lwakho never made us feel you never had time for us. You had a lot of responsibilities, but always ixesha lethu bunalo. We would talk for hours about the hopes and dreams you had for us as your children and the hopes and dreams you had for isizwe. Esi ukumkani uzanesizwe utata athe kakubambele unyana. Siyayazi, you'll always be watching over us, fulfilling those dreams. Siqhubekeke nemisebenzi ubuyenza. Our stories are endless, of laughing together, crying together, and fighting through the toughest situations together. That alone made me and my sister inseparable. Siyakuthanda mama, and we will forever love you. Siyakukhulula ngoku Mageba, ntombi enhle. Uzuthi wofika kokhokho, komakhulu, nakutata uzanesizwe, usibulisele. Imfundiso zakho zohlala zihleli ezingqondweni nasezinhliziyweni zethu. And one thing I know that my sister knows as well is that you are one strict woman. Usikhulise, usifundisa imbeko. I've never come across someone so humble. Into yokuba uchate ngowasebukhosini, that she put aside. Wangumama osifundisa into yokuba into yoziphakamisa uthi uhamba phana echomi zakho uzinikela into yokuba ndisuke ebukhosini ebeyicapukela athi sikhule nje singabathandi kwabantu abaziphakamisileyo. Umuntu kufanele akwazi uhlala nabantu, uphilisana nabantu. Njengoba nisitsho imfundiso zakho zohlala zisezingqondweni nasenhliziyweni zethu. Nelo ncumo lwakho lenza kulunge kuxole nenhliziyo zethu. uThixo usinikile ixesha nawe. Hamba kakuhle indaba ezitha. Ndakabhusho odla amadoda.